Hello, guys, and welcome back to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. This is episode 6, and what I wanted to talk about in this episode was establishing your expertise. Why is it important to talk about it? How can it come off as value and not bragging, etc.? I've recorded this same episode a few times, and it's because I wasn't really feeling aligned with the message at first, because it's not about saying you're better than somebody else, but it's about knowing what you have to offer and what you value. All right. So even if you have less years of experience than somebody else does, there are ways we could work together, or you could brainstorm it out with other people and figure out what are your points of value. What is it you offer that somebody else doesn't? So while I may be saying the term experience, what I really mean is, what do you offer? What are your value points? So for some, it's going to be really traditional and straightforward. It's going to be your years in the industry. It's going to be the venues or the professionals that you're affiliated with. It could be the publications that you've been featured in. All right. This is going to come with a lot of time and years in the business. But if you don't have that yet, you could start submitting your work to, maybe I would start local. I'd start submitting it to local magazines to be printed or shared. So then you can say that you've been featured there. You could start collaborating with other professionals, maybe arranging a styled shoot to do together, and then submitting that styled shoot to more of those high-end places. You could have neighbors who always come out in the hallway whenever you record a podcast. Why does that always happen? Let me tell you guys, I sit here alone all day with the cat, and it's only when I'm trying to record the podcast that this happens. And the other side of my apartment is by the traffic, so I sit in the hallway side. But okay, that's really, I would not, for example, put that on my Instagram profile. I instead would talk about where I am experienced. I'm not experienced with podcast recording, but I am experienced with Instagram, digital marketing, etc. So that's what you can do too. You talk about where your expertise, your value, and so forth lies. And it's great to understand why this is important. Okay, it's not just about you over somebody else. It's about delivering to the couple. Okay, and I say that because I don't like the idea of competition. It's really not about competing with other professionals. It's about offering the best service possible to the couple who's inquiring with you. Okay, as a wedding photographer who's worked several weddings, you already have so much value in that alone. You know when to pull the couple to take their nighttime shots. You know how to get as many family portraits in their limited amount of time as possible. You know when they're getting up to dance and when they're going to be seated at the table, when they're going to be cutting the cake, when the toasts are happening. And that's something that someone who hasn't shot weddings before is going to know. I mean, I hate to bring up horror stories. It's not a horror story, but it does stink. My friend had booked an editorial photographer instead of a wedding photographer, and there are no photos of the groom's siblings in any of the photos, not at all. So that's just, it's good to know what sets you apart. And the message isn't to say, don't book this person because they won't know to do this, but rather to say, when you book me as your wedding photographer, you're also booking my 15 years of experience, or you're also booking my bright personality. You're also booking, and so forth and so forth. So it doesn't have to just be about years. There's a lot of different points that you can pull from. If you're unsure of what your value points are, take out a sheet of paper and just brainstorm it. Write it out. Maybe ask some friends, families, some people you've worked with before for some ideas, or look at past reviews people have left you and take out some elements from there. Now that you know your value points, your points of expertise, and so forth, what do you do with those? How do you get that across to your couples? So the first thing I would say to do is to put it on your website, sprinkle in throughout, have it be in your about section. You could have elements in your packages and so forth. What I also like to do for professionals that I represent is I have a Word document with all of the different phrases and sentences and relevant points about them that I know are important to articulate and put out there in their messaging. So then when I'm doing the content calendar, I can refer to those topics and kind of pick and pull from them. But where am I putting them? Okay, so obviously, in addition to your website, is going to be the bio on your Facebook, on your Instagram, on the Knot, anywhere you have a professional listing. So an example would be in your bio that you say who you are, where you service, what you do, and then say, basically why you're good at it. So it can be 10 years of experience, or voted the Knot Best of 2021, or as featured in Style Me Pretty, and that can go in your bios. So that's a good place to put it. Also, it can just be in your captions. So post a photo and you can put in the caption, when you book me, you're also booking my 10 years experience. Or couples love working with us because they love our bubbly personality. Whatever you have picked as those value points, you can sprinkle it in through your messaging. It doesn't have to be every caption. You can go the Gary Vee approach, which is, what is it? Jab, jab, punch, or punch, punch, jab. I don't know. I don't do boxing. But basically what he's saying is that you give value, jab, jab, and then the cross, the punch is then when you sell yourself, so value, sell. I also want to add, if you're starting fresh and maybe you don't know what your value points are, or you don't feel you have enough experience to go totally on your own yet, I recommend reaching out to other professionals. Where I'd start is looking for Facebook groups of where professionals in your areas are. There's so many Facebook groups that will just say, like Austin Wedding Professionals. Look that up, see if it exists, see where they're hanging out, and just put it out there saying, I'm looking to get some experience. I would love to assist one of your working days in exchange for that experience. If there aren't Facebook groups, then I would consider messaging someone you admire. Let them know what it is you like about them and their work, and see if they're willing to have a conversation with you. You also I did a lot of assisting with my friend who was a wedding planner, and I found this to be so valuable no matter what side of weddings you're looking to get into, because on that day, the wedding planner works with everybody. Okay, so you're going to see the florist show up, you'll be working with the DJ, the bakery, the linens, everything, and you're going to see who's responsible for what each professional's day is like. And there's just so much you can learn. So maybe reach out to a local wedding planner and see if they're willing to take on an assistant for a period of time. I hope this episode has helped you realize ways that you can incorporate your value and your experience into your marketing. If you're still a little shaky on the topic, look, I was too. This was one of the hardest podcasts for me to record. Send me a message, let's chat. I also have on my website where you can book an hour-long consultation call with me, in addition to my monthly social media services that I offer. I would love to get to know you better, and you guys can email me anytime at hello@idoweddingmarketing.com or message me on Instagram at idoweddingmarketing. The I Do Wedding Marketing podcast comes out every Wednesday, and every Wednesday at 12 p.m. I am live on my Instagram doing live Q&As. So I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you showing off your expertise with me. See you next week, guys.